She pulls away. You text. She goes cold. You chase. You try harder. She respects you less. You pour out love. She withdraws. You open up. She locks down. Every move you make to fix things pushes her further away. The more you try to prove your worth, the less she sees it. Why? Because you're speaking a language of weakness. And she's reading it loud and clear. What if I told you? The most powerful men never play this game. What if I told you? The men she can't stop thinking about, never chase, never explain, never fear her distance. They don't react. They don't flinch. They don't fold. And they sure as hell don't seek approval. They move differently. They move with power. Because they know, once you need her, she controls you. But when you need nothing, you become the one thing she can't resist. I put together something for you. It's called the Stoic Relationship Blueprint for Men, built from 2,000 plus years of timeless Stoic wisdom, designed to give men clarity, emotional power, and complete dominance in any relationship. Click the link in the comments and grab it right now before it disappears. Once it's gone, it's gone. Because if every man had this book, emotional games would stop overnight. This video, it's just the surface. That book, that's the foundation. Now let's dive deep into the 5 principles that make high-value men unstoppable and outsmart women's games in modern relationships, and how you can adopt each one starting today. Number 1. High-value men don't explain themselves. Imagine walking into a room where every man is talking over each other, justifying, defending, explaining, trying to prove they deserve to be there. And now imagine one man standing there, calm, composed, speaking once, then letting the weight of his words do the rest, not because he's better, but because he knows the value of his voice and refuses to dilute it with over-justification. This is the man who understands that explaining oneself to someone who has already decided how they want to see you is a losing game. It's like painting on water. The image never holds, so instead he leaves space for others to reckon with his truth on their own terms. And in that space, they find both discomfort and admiration. And this isn't just theory, this is practice. You've experienced it when you explained yourself to a woman after she pulled away, sent the third text, tried to clarify your tone, thinking that maybe if she saw your side, she'd come back, but she didn't respect you more. She lost curiosity because you removed her need to interpret, removed the mystery, and in that moment, you gave her your frame on a silver platter, and the worst part is, she didn't even have to ask for it. And this is where a high-value man operates differently, not from cruelty, but from a deeper understanding that energy speaks louder than justification. He knows that withholding the urge to clarify is not being cold. It's preserving his internal certainty and reminding others that understanding him is a privilege, not an obligation. And Stoic wisdom teaches us that the opinion of others, especially those who misunderstand us, has no power unless we give it room in our minds. And this is where freedom begins. Not when she finally understands you, but when you no longer need her to. And from that place of emotional independence, you create an entirely different gravitational pull, one that doesn't chase but attracts, one that doesn't adjust to opinion but moves with purpose, because the more you try to be understood by those who aren't listening, the more you betray the part of you that never needed permission to exist. Number 2, they never chase validation. There's a quiet kind of power that walks into a room and doesn't look around for who's watching, doesn't soften its edges to be liked, doesn't overgive to earn attention. And that's the energy every man must embody if he wants to outgrow the need for approval. Because the truth is, most men don't give because they're generous. They give because they're scared. Scared of being overlooked, of not being enough, of being left behind if they don't constantly prove their worth, and they wrap it in compliments, kindness, romantic gestures, and emotional support. But beneath it is the fear that says, if I don't do this, she'll leave. And high-value men, they see that fear and kill it, not by becoming emotionless, but by becoming full, so full of their own direction, mission, and sense of self, that any external validation becomes optional, a bonus, not a requirement. And it's here that a subtle but powerful shift happens. The moment you stop needing validation is the moment others start seeking yours, not because you've played a trick or withheld affection, but because you no longer enter relationships as a beggar, you enter as a builder, offering value from a place of overflow rather than need. And this shift changes everything. It changes how you text, how you respond, how you walk into a date, how you interact with co-workers, how you treat rejection, not as a reflection of your worth, but as a reminder of your standard. And the man who refuses to chase validation becomes the man who never has to. Because when people sense you don't need them to see your value, they become curious to discover it for themselves, and Stoic principles reinforce this. Your value is internal. Your worth is not increased by applause, nor diminished by criticism. And every time you act from that principle, you train your mind to lead instead of follow, to choose rather than wait to be chosen. And from that place, you stop speaking to be praised and start living to be remembered, not because you need legacy, but because you've already found peace. Number 3. They set boundaries with no exceptions. There is a distinct moment in every relationship when a line is crossed, and everything that follows depends on how a man responds. And most men, instead of drawing a firm line, offer a polite request, hoping that being nice will prevent future disrespect. But it never does, because boundaries that come with exceptions are not boundaries. They're suggestions, and suggestions get ignored, tested, and walked over, especially by people who want to know if your strength is real or just an act. And high-value men, they don't shout their boundaries, they don't threaten, they don't beg for respect. They create it by being absolute in their limits, and they understand a fundamental truth. When you tolerate what makes you uncomfortable just to keep someone around, you trade your peace for presence, and the cost is always too high. And so they draw lines, clean, clear, unapologetic, not to punish, but to protect what they've built internally. And this could be as simple as ending a conversation the moment sarcasm turns into subtle disrespect, or leaving a date the moment they sense entitlement, or not responding to texts that come with conditions instead of connection. And yes, it might mean walking away from people who once mattered. But what matters more is the integrity of the man you're becoming. And the Stoics taught that a man cannot be harmed by what he does not allow inside. And boundaries are how you choose what gets through the gate. So every time you enforce one, even if it costs you something, you teach the world how to treat you. And more importantly, you remind yourself that your peace is non-negotiable. And over time, people stop testing you, not because they've changed, but because you've shown them that access to you comes with terms. The moment they cross those terms, the conversation ends not in anger, not in drama, but in unwavering clarity, and that kind of man is rare. But when he shows up, the world listens differently, women behave differently, and life responds with alignment instead of chaos, not because he controls it, but because he finally stopped letting it control him. Number 4. They never fear being alone. There is a quiet agony in the lives of most men that they rarely speak of. The fear of being left, the panic that follows when a woman withdraws her affection, the emptiness that echoes when messages go unanswered or plans fall through. And it's not the woman they fear losing, it's the identity they've built around her presence, the illusion that their worth is tied to being chosen. And so they cling, they overreach, they compromise just to keep from feeling that crushing void. But the truth is, that void isn't a punishment. It's a mirror, and only the man who dares to look into it without flinching will ever rise above it. Because high-value men aren't addicted to company, they are loyal to clarity. They walk alone not out of bitterness, but out of strength. Because they know solitude is not the absence of love, but the presence of power. It's where you meet the version of yourself that doesn't chase, doesn't explain, doesn't perform. It's where your purpose sharpens, your voice deepens, and your presence becomes unforgettable. And the man who doesn't fear being alone is the man no one wants to lose, because he isn't a slave to validation. He is a lighthouse, anchored, bright, unwavering, and even in his silence, he is felt. And this is where Stoic wisdom comes alive, in the choice to stand firm when the world tries to pull you into chaos, in the ability to detach from what does not serve your highest self. And when a woman senses that you are with her, not because you need her, but because you choose her, everything changes. The way she respects you, the way she speaks to you, the way she stays, because nothing is more magnetic than a man who doesn't fear loss, who doesn't panic when tested, who doesn't flinch when alone. And this is not learned in books. This is forged in nights when your phone is silent, your bed is cold, and yet you rise, not to fill the void, but to fill your potential. And the man who finds peace in his own presence becomes the man whose presence brings peace to others, not because he's trying to lead, but because he's already mastered himself. And every step he takes alone is a declaration. I am enough, I always was, and I always will be. And it's this unwavering truth that makes him not only irreplaceable, but untouchable. Number 5. Their purpose comes first. Every man has a flame inside him, a mission that whispers louder than any applause, a calling that existed long before he fell in love, long before he tasted success, long before anyone saw his worth. And yet, most men bury that flame the moment they feel accepted. They shrink it to fit inside someone else's expectations. They dim it to keep the peace in relationships that don't feed their fire. But the high-value man refuses to do this. He knows that when a man puts a woman above his mission, he doesn't just lose her respect, he loses his direction. And when he loses that, everything else collapses. His self-respect, his focus, his essence. And this isn't about ignoring her or being cold. It's about knowing that your life is not a stage built for someone else's applause. It's a kingdom under construction, and every hour, every thought, every sacrifice must serve that vision. And when a woman sees a man who is married to his purpose, who doesn't cancel goals for dates, who doesn't pause progress for comfort, she either respects him or removes herself. And both outcomes are victories. Because the man who lives for something greater than love will always have love that feels greater. And this isn't selfish, it's sacred. Because when your purpose comes first, you stop attracting distraction and start attracting alignment. You stop falling for anyone who shows interest and start filtering for those who show investment. And Stoic wisdom reminds us that a man's peace is found not in pleasures, but in principles. And when your principle is growth, everything you touch becomes sharper, deeper, more meaningful. And the truth is, women crave this. They crave a man who doesn't need to be loved to feel valuable, but who becomes more valuable because he's too focused to need love as a crutch. And this energy, it's unbreakable because it cannot be bought, seduced, or swayed. It moves through life with momentum, and those who can keep up become part of the legacy, not the distraction. So wake up every day and ask, does this thought, this action, this relationship serve the mission? If not, it's a detour disguised as devotion. And when you learn to say no to what feels good short-term, you create space for what builds you long-term. And that is how high-value men live, not seeking balance, but building empires where balance naturally exists. And the woman who sees this won't try to compete with it. She'll want to contribute to it. And if she doesn't, you keep building anyway, because your purpose isn't waiting for her approval. It's waiting for you to stop postponing your greatness. Every man watching this knows what it feels like to give too much and get nothing back. To try to be the good guy, the perfect partner, the one who always understands, only to be misunderstood, discarded, and replaced. We're living in a world where strong men are silenced, where weakness is rewarded and truth is punished. And every time you compromise your standards, every time you suppress your instincts, every time you chase instead of lead, a part of you disappears. But it doesn't have to be this way. That's why the Stoic relationship blueprint for men was created, to give you back what society tried to take: power, peace, clarity. This book is not for everyone. It's for the man who's ready to reclaim his identity, rebuild his confidence, and live by truth, not trends. It's raw, it's real. It's been forged from 2,000 plus years of time-tested wisdom and clarity. And for the first time ever, it's now available to the public. But not for long. We are capping the number of sales to preserve the integrity of this knowledge, for the few who are ready. If you're serious about becoming unshakable, comment the blueprint below, then click the link in the comments and grab it before it disappears. Don't wait. Take the first step toward completely transforming your life and relationships for good.